Hi everyone, Shashank this side. I hope you all are doing well today. Today we will learn about another topic from AWS security assessment called AWS Config. So this was the first service that I interacted with while working on the security assessment part on AWS Cloud. And to be honest, as per my personal experience, this is another good service provided by AWS which you can use to do a continuous monitoring of your resources and assessment based upon your requirement. So you just have to write some rules. Either you can have a predefined rule from AWS or you can use Lambda function to write custom rules to monitor your AWS resources to do continuous assessment and what kind of changes, and you can do a lot of troubleshooting from that point of view. Let's look into that. So let's assume on the architectural side, we know that we create, delete, modify our resources in AWS as per our requirement, and we do it like on a frequent basis, right? So there would be some change or another. So obviously, when we create, modify, delete, then it's quite difficult for us to track, keep a track of those changes across. So with an ideal best practices, we should use some sort of mechanism to keep the track of all these changes. So that's where AWS Config as a service comes into picture, where it not only helps us to keep the track of these changes, as well as it helps us to provide to do a security assessment, which provide us a detailed report that our resources are compliant in nature or non-compliant in nature, and which are non-compliant we can work accordingly on that particular side as per the security standard defined. For example, if you remember, like with my previous video, we covered up AWS Inspector. AWS Inspector basically cover up four different scenarios on the security standards. One of them was like CIS benchmark that AWS quite follows a lot. So with the help of Lambda function, you can use AWS CIS benchmark to keep track of your assessment on security side of your resources. So I have jotted down few points. Let's review that first, and I'm gonna show you how to do the configuration on AWS Management Console. Okay, so AWS Config record and evaluate the configuration of your AWS resources. So as I said, whenever you try to modify any kind of resources and AWS config is turned on, then this will gonna keep the changes, the track changes basically of that particular resource. So this will gonna help you that whatever you have changed. So let's assume that I have a team of 5 members, and next day some member has modified some configuration on a security group, and I'm not aware of that. In that case, I can check my AWS config dashboard that what kind of changes has been done over last night. Or you can send out a notification using Amazon SNS that this particular change has been done on the security group. So keep track of changes whenever it is done. That helps a lot on AWS config. It's a service that enables you to assess, audit, and evaluate the configuration of your AWS resources. So, as I said, which resources are compliant and which resources are non-compliant as per the security standard defined by us. AWS Config help us there a lot. Config continuously monitors and record your AWS resources configuration, allows you to automate the evaluation of recorded configuration against the desired configuration. The same thing, any kind of changes happens, if AWS config is turned on, this will gonna continue the monitoring, record the changes, and allow us to automate the evaluation period. With config, you can review the changes in the configuration and relationship between the AWS resources. So for example, you have an EC2 instance assigned with Elastic IP. So those kind of relationship will gonna shown in AWS config monitoring tool. This will gonna have the historic configuration as well and determine your overall compliance against the configuration specified as per your internal guidelines. So you define your security standard, you define all kind of best practices, and try to assess your environment with AWS config. This will gonna give you everything in the dashboard. This will gonna continue the monitoring part. This enables you to simplify compliance auditing, security analysis, change management, and operational troubleshooting. So there are like few benefits that we are getting with AWS Config, like continuous monitoring, continuous assessment, change management, and operational troubleshooting. So if you want to troubleshoot on any of the resources that has been changed, so for example, the configuration has been changed today, and tomorrow we are facing some issue. So that kind of changes is getting tracked down in AWS Config console. So with that help, we can roll it back to the previous state as well. So that is something on the troubleshooting side, we can take a help of AWS Config if it is turned on. So this is the diagram that I have taken from Amazon. So any kind of configuration changes occurs in AWS resources. The config will gonna record and normalize that change into a consistent format. AWS config automatically evaluates the recorded configuration against the configuration you specify. So that is kind of an assessment. Then you can check that via AWS Config API or console. You can send the notification with SNS. You can use Amazon CloudWatch as well to check the logs. You can send the report to Amazon S3 bucket. So access change history and compliance result using console or API, CloudWatch events or SNS alert whenever any kind of changes occurs. Deliver the change history, the snapshot of the file in your S3 bucket. So that is how the architectural work of AWS config happens. So I hope this clears a lot on the AWS config concept, how why this is in picture as of now as compared to different tools that we have. So if you remember, like the first video that I have created with AWS security was AWS Trusted Advisor. So Trusted Advisor also do a continuous monitoring of your resources. That will help you with the optimization of your resources. So it will gonna give you the optimization on the costing side, performance side. Then I recorded a video for Inspector, which do the assessment on the vulnerabilities that is present over your network and your servers. But AWS config, it's again track down the resource changes, your compliance or non-compliance in nature with an additional functionality. So all three modules are different as of now, but to a certain extent, either you can use AWS config to monitor your changes, send the changes either through your mail or to S3 bucket, or as per your requirement, you can go with Trusted Advisor as well, because that helps you to give the costing benefit. That is something not present with AWS config. Okay, let's jump to our AWS Management Console. I'm gonna show you where we can find a config. So go to the services, and config is present inside management and governance, something called config. Click on that. This will open up the AWS config console. Okay, these are the options that we have: dashboard. So basically config works on the rules, where you have to define certain number of rules. So AWS has modified the pricing model for rules as well. So one rule cost $1 for 1 month. Okay, so every month you have to pay $1 for that particular rule. So in the dashboard section, you're gonna see all the discovery that this will gonna track. So we can see like which are compliant and which are non-compliant over here. Then if we have to track down the changes, what we have to do, go to the settings, and you have to turn on the recording part. As of now, recording is turned off. So click on turn on the recording, continue. So my recording is turned on. So what I am doing, I'm recording all the resources in supported region. So I'm in Northern Virginia. So recording works on a region specific site, but you can add multiple accounts over here, and with the help of aggregators. So I'm gonna show you that option as well. Or if you want to like do a track down of a specific type of resources, then you have to select this one. Data retention default period is 7 years. You can do a custom retention as well as per your requirement. So that's a default provided by AWS. Then you can send out your report to bucket. So what I am doing, I'm sending out a bucket name this config test 666 with this particular location. Then you can send out a SNS topic. Whenever changes happens, you will get notified over here. So I'm not doing that as of now. And config works on the role. So what I have done, I have already have a role with AWS Config. So this will gonna use that role to configure our to track down our resources. And you can use Amazon CloudWatch events rule as well. So this will gonna send the detailed information about the configuration changes and notification to CloudWatch event. So I'm not doing all those things. Taking inventory, so this is going to take some time because this will gonna scan all my what do you say resources present in my Northern Virginia region. So if I go to my EC2 instances, so I have two servers which are in stopped state, as you can see, and I have security groups, multiple security groups over here, all in Northern Virginia. So this will gonna track down all those changes or all the configuration rather to be specific, because we haven't done any kind of change as of now. Okay, so on the rule side, what you have to do, let's say, so you can see like compliant and non-compliant. So what you have to do, for example, let's click add rule. So we have 122 AWS manage rule. Okay, you can create your own custom. That totally depends upon your requirement. So let's say, let's see if we have something on EC2. Okay, so we have something called EBS optimize, whether our EBS volumes are optimized or not. Check whether running instances are using specified AMIs, specifying the tags that identify the AMI. Running instances with AMI that don't have at least one specified tag. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select this one. So this is selected. Let's go on top. The name is approved aims by tag. Then you have a description like check whether the running instances with a specified tag or not. Manage rule name is this. Trigger type whenever configuration changes or periodic. Scope of changes, resource, tag, or all changes. Resources is EC2 instance. This will gonna scan the EC2 instance that what I have. Remediation action, what you can do, you can the recommended one, like you can go ahead and create a Jira issue, or you can send out a notification, you can do an update of the AMIs if we are using that side. There are a lot of other parameters that we have. You can do a patch, enable CloudTrail, and all those things. Auto remediation recommendation would be no. Reason being, first of all, we would like to have a scan result instead of doing an auto remediation. So based upon the scan result, there would be a possibility that some changes has been done intentionally. So I'll not gonna go for auto remediation, and that is not an industry best practices. So by default, it is no, and you should go for no. Okay, rate limit, you can specify the percentage of the resources against SSM. So that totally depends upon your requirement. Then delete remediation is grayed out. So every parameter has either static value or dynamic value. By default, dynamic is no resource type. Only when dynamic value is no resource type, you can either enter static value. That again totally depend upon the requirement. So I'm gonna save this rule. So I'll be getting charged for $1 for this particular rule. Regardless, if I delete it now, my bill will gonna show $1 because I have created this rule. So this will gonna evaluate my compliance of EC2 instances, which I'm gonna see over here. So it has recorded the settings that we have turned on. It has scanned the resources over here, like I have KMS key 12, S3 bucket 6, EC2 security group 6, then subnets, RDS instances, snapshots, and everything. So in Northern Virginia, I have total 50 resource count. Now, based upon the rule that I have created, which is for the AMI tagging, on the right hand side, this will gonna show the evaluation of the compliance and non-compliance resources. Okay, so the evaluation is completed on the dashboard. The non-compliance resource is 1 and the compliant is 2. Okay, so I added another rule like EC2 instance no public IP. So if I go to my EC2 instance, I have one public IP associated with it and another which is dynamic in nature basically, but it has a public IP. The other one is already stopped. That's why it's showing compliant because it's not associated with any public IP. Okay, so click on non-compliant resources. This is the non-compliant resources, and the rule is like check whether Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud instance have public IP association or not. But this particular instance 995C, if we go to EC2 instance 995C is associated with public IP, so that's why it's showing red, which is non-compliant as per our rule. So the second part that I want to show you guys, the settings that we have already turned on, it's taking the inventory again and again because this is under continuous monitoring of our resources. So go to the dashboard again to the rule name and click on the non-compliant resource ID. So you can see like we have certain option, configuration timeline, compliance timeline, then we have manage resources. So to check what is happening in the background on the configuration, so the level of tracking, what AWS config is doing, to see that, click on configuration timeline. Here you can see like 5th Jan 5:06:10 p.m. it started, which is basically 6 minutes back. These are the configuration details that we have: resource ID, EC2 instance. Then these are the instance detail that is has tracked it down. The relationship, let's see. So we have a network interface ID. It's related to network interface ID, security group, EC2 subnet, EC2 volume, and this is the VPC. Rest, we haven't done any kind of configuration change for this particular instance. So that's why the configuration changes is showing 0. Okay, let's do some changes to the configuration. So this is how you can see the configuration change on the dashboard. If you go to the compliance timeline, this is red because this is non-compliant in nature, due to which it's showing red. So go to the configuration timeline again, and we'll go to our EC2 instance, go to the actions tab, networking, change the security group. We are trying to change the configuration now. So we are removing the first security group ID and adding some like NFS security group, assign the security group. So that means one level of configuration change has been done, removing the old one and adding a new one. So let's try to check if this particular change has been tracked down or not. So go to AWS Config console again, click on configuration timeline, and here we go. The first recording was done nearby 5:06, and the second track happened after 10 minutes. Sorry, after 14 minutes, which is 5:20. So let's go down to our configuration change. Okay, so this is the JSON format that it's showing, and we have changed our security group, which is the relationship changes from this security group to a new one. So this is how the relationship is showing a change configuration over here in the changes section. And the relationship, even if you check, like if you go over here, it's a new one, NFS SG. So this is how config is tracking down all the changes basically for the resources which are compliant and for the resources which are non-compliant. And this is very useful tool. So you can, as I said, you can send out a communication via SNS in whenever any changes happen to my EC2 instance or EBS volumes, like expand of the EBS volume. This notification will be sent out to your email address using SNS. So at least you should be aware of that the changes has been done by someone from your team. Even you can check like this configuration change is consisting of the old data. So if you are trying to roll back it to the previous position, then you can use this old data. If you're not aware which security group ID was present over there, then you can check this particular relationship changes section, and from there you can take down the old IP or old ID basically to roll it back to the previous state. So this is one thing. Apart from this, compliance, non-compliance, and tracking, monitoring kind of things, this is something region specific, as I said. But if you want to manage multiple accounts, so you have what you have to do. You have to go to aggregated view, where you have to add an aggregator. You can see like I don't have any aggregator. Consider creating an aggregator to view AWS resource inventory or config rule compliance status of your AWS account or other AWS account across all region. So from here it's showing all region, all accounts, whatever you have added over here. So for that, what you have to do, add aggregator, allow AWS to replicate data, give the aggregator name like test account or something as per your requirement. Now, either you can add an individual accounts, like you can manually add all the account IDs or upload a file with a comma separated list with if you have like multiple accounts, or you can add this to my organization. So organization is another module where it will give you a consolidated format of your billing, your aggregated view basically. So these are the two steps that you can design, and you can select all the regions over here. As I said, once you design the rule, since rule AWS config rule is region specific, so to have your dashboard filled with all the data from multiple regions, you have to create rule on those particular regions, and with an aggregator with one master account you can see all the values of your compliant and non-compliant resources. So you have to select the region over here while configuring the aggregated view. So this is how AWS config works with one account, with multiple account, multiple regions. We have both options. So if you have infrastructure in one region, you can create the number of rules. But again, remember, one rule uh, cost for $1, but I guess there is certain ranges, like above 10 rules the costing goes down, or above 30 rules. I'm going to share the detail of the AWS config pricing in my description section, so please go through that. Apart from that, there is another service that has added, or kind of function that has added inside AWS config, is the conformance pack. In conformance pack, what you can do, let's open this first, taking few more milliseconds I guess. Okay, so conformance pack is basically you can design multiple rules, AWS config rules. You can take a help of Lambda function to remediate those actions. So you can deploy that performance pack over here, and that will gonna deploy each and every rule with the remediation action, that what we are doing it manually. So config works best with AWS Lambda. So you can create a Lambda function for multiple rules, deploy it in conference pack, and this will gonna create everything for you. You don't have to do a single rule one at a time in particular region. So that can be done, that can be automated as well. So that's AWS has provided a benefit to do that. Okay, so just try it out on your account. Try to create a common rule for your staging environment, and give that particular data to your higher management, that if we use AWS config, these are the certain options that we are getting with config, and this will gonna benefit us from using another third party tool. If you're not using another cloud vendor like Azure and Google, if you're heavily on AWS cloud, this is the best practices on the security side to use config, having a benefit of security assessment, doing a remediation from the code itself. That will gonna help us in a better way. So just try it out on your account. If you're facing any issue, just place out a comment in comment section, and I'll be there to help you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.